Hello, welcome back to another installment of Meet the Stories. This is chapter 1 of part 1. Part 1 is matrimony, and chapter 1 is about Cody and Mary. And this current part is in the point of view of Mary. I spent the early years of my life living in California with my parents, both of whom were devout followers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. When I was a baby, my mom had a friend who left the LDS church because she practiced plural marriage. When my mom learned about this, it piqued her interest and she began studying the principle as well. Soon after, she suggested to my dad that the family move to Utah. He didn't know her religious reasons why at the time, but he said, "Sure, let's move." Though it took them 4.5 more years of research and studying the principle before they actually did, we finally moved to Utah when I was 5 years old. It was my mother who urged my father to take his first plural wife. He did, and she joined the family when I was only 5, but I still have fond memories of her. Unfortunately, it was a short marriage with no children, and she left 2 years later. When I was 10, my mom and dad once brought a new wife into the family. I didn't think there was anything strange about it. In fact, I was excited. I was a shy kid and didn't make friends easily. When I found out the woman my father was courting was from a large polygamous family, I was thrilled to have the chance to get to know a whole new group of people and be able to make more friends. Our family grew quickly. Eventually, my father took 4 wives in addition to my mother. In total, I have 27 siblings. I was in a slightly easier position than many of my siblings, whom came from my father's second, third, fourth, or fifth marriages. Since I was the child of my father's first marriage, he was his legal one. It was simple and natural for my father to be my father in public. Since polygamy isn't widely accepted for the other kids, it could be more difficult to acknowledge their father publicly. To my father's credit, he owned that is acted as a true father to every one of my brothers and sisters. Growing up, I always assumed I would live the polygamous lifestyle. It was a tradition in which I was raised. My biological parents and my mother's sister wives all seemed happy for the most part. Of course, there were the normal ups and downs that happen in any family. I loved being a part of a large family. It felt normal and comfortable. My parents, however, never pushed me toward the principle. They wanted me to make my own decisions and come to plural marriage if I chose through my own route. My parents' only rule about religion was that I had to go to church, but this isn't so different from millions of parents around the world. It was always made clear to me that whatever religion I embraced as an adult, whether our branch of fundamentalism, LDS, or something else, was entirely up to me. Despite the fact that I was shy, I managed to make a number of friends outside of our church group. I worked at a portrait studio and became friendly with many of my coworkers, which helped me to overcome my shyness. Perhaps because I interacted with so many people outside my faith when I was a teenager. For a time, I really questioned whether or not I was going to live the principle of plural marriage. I struggled to find my way and discover my own identity within a close-knit community and the requirements of my faith. And then I met Cody. Now this is in the point of view of Cody. I was raised in the LDS faith. Both of my parents were devout Mormons. However, when I was 14 years old, my mother pulled me aside and explained to me some of the doctrines of Mormonism that are a little more intense. One of these is that of celestial plural marriage. The moment my mother described the principle to me, I had a feeling that this was something I was going to follow. I had no idea how or when, I just knew. Of course, being young and stubborn, I battled hard against this calling. In the LDS Church, there's absolutely no opportunity to explore prayer marriage. It's simple, not done. It's simply not done. Plural marriage is one of the few things that sets the Mormon fundamentalist faith apart from the followers of the LDS Church. The religions are similar, but this one difference is astronomical. Embracing it meant leaving the faith of my childhood forever. When I was 19, I was sent on my LDS mission to southern Texas. During the 2 years I spent proselyting for the Mormon Church, the doctrine of plural marriage was constantly on my mind. It spoke to me, it called me, but I still had no idea what to do with the summons. While I was away in the ministry in Texas, I got a letter from my mother telling me that my parents had been excommunicated from the LDS Church and had joined a fundamentalist Mormon faith. I thought, well, this is interesting, but I was still too hard-headed to see it was a sign that I should follow in their footsteps. My parents' excommunication from the Mormon Church broke my heart. I was deeply concerned about their spiritual welfare, but God spoke peace to me. I continued my service in the mission field and finished my 2-year calling. By the time I returned from my mission, my father had taken a second wife. My mother had written me dozens of letters about how wonderful her sister wife was, so although I had never met my new mom, I was ready to accept her completely. She deserved my respect and my love, simply because my father had married her. When I returned to Utah from Texas, I immediately experienced the remarkable warmth of the principle of plural marriage, as my mother had explained to me years ago. The warmth and love I imagined would go hand in hand with a polygamous lifestyle were no longer an unattainable ideal. They were real and concrete and precisely as I had imagined they would be. My mother was away, but here was another woman who loved my father and whom my father loved, and by extension we grew to love each other as mother and son. It was an easy and wonderful evolution. Even though my parents had converted to fundamentalism and I discovered for myself the warmth of polygamous lifestyle, I was still uncertain about converting myself. I began associating with members of my parents' new church and attending their gatherings. I thought I knew what I wanted, but it took me a whole new commitment. Then I met a girl named Mary, and that changed everything. Now we're back to Mary. I first noticed Cody. Our church group is quite close-knit and had been together a long time, so any new face really stands out. He caught my eye, and I believe I caught his. Someone introduced us, but beyond a brief hello, I didn't think we said a word to each other. I was 18. I had never been courted by a guy before. Shoot! I was so quiet that I probably never ever been noticed by a guy before, so nothing of a romantic nature crossed my mind during the first meeting. The summer I attended a camp for girls of our faith. One of my fellow campers, a girl named Christy, was here from out of state and had a photo of her brother who was attending our church in Utah. When she showed it to me, and I immediately recognized Cody. A few months after camp ended, Christy came back to Utah.